Senator Lee. Thank you for this. I want to get to all this mess about Schumerism and what's going on with Homeland Security and the shutdown. But what you know Kevin Warsh. What do you think of him, sir?
Look, I think it's very promising. Anytime we're looking at a potential Fed chair who has urged that we stop running the printing press, that's a good thing. Look, the Federal Reserve Bank has helped perpetuate this massive period of inflation. One of its primary jobs is to control inflation. Instead, they've facilitated it. So to whatever extent Kevin Warsh can help bring that under control, I will very much look forward to seeing how he's going to do that.
You know, it's a great point you're making. I mean, I hope he goes up to the Hill from time to time and admonishes the Congress to stop all the spending. And, you know, Newt Gingrich coined the phrase big government socialism. I mean, really, down through the recent years, the last couple of decades, certainly under Jerome Powell, the Fed buying all these bonds, right? They're financing big government socialism. And that's kept inflation and interest rates very high and the economy very low. I mean, that's all should stop, and I think he will.
That's exactly right. And, you know, we've had Fed chairs in very recent years come to the Hill and not only not tell us to stop spending too much money, but they have come here and encouraged us to spend more. I think that's terrible. It's one of the reasons why I've become such an adversary of the Federal Reserve and why I've made calls to end the Fed. But if we've got somebody who is going to come in and do the opposite of that, that is a good development.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's go to this mess. I don't pretend to understand all of it. 5 bills are okay, but the DH bill is not. But the immigration deportation of that bill has already been funded in the one big beautiful bill last year. So, Senator Lee, I know there's going to be negotiations, White House, Senate, House, Republicans and Democrats. I'm just real worried that somehow some deportation laws or immigration laws will be changed, which I don't want. Mr. Schumer, you know, he's an open borders guy. The Democratic Party's what is going on here? Deal making worries me from a spending standpoint and from an illegal immigration policy standpoint, Senator Lee.
This particular feature of this particular deal really does worry me, in part because we don't know the details of what they're going to demand 2 weeks from now when their temporary funding for the Department of Homeland Security runs out. Yes, there were certain things that were funded in the big, beautiful bill for immigration and customs enforcement. There's ongoing debate about exactly what that covers. Some of my colleagues are convinced that it doesn't do that much other than to allow them to make new hires and give bonuses and things like that. But even assuming that the rest of immigration and customs enforcement is already funded by that, the Department of Homeland Security has a lot of other features that are not. Now, are the Democrats in the next 2 weeks going to make ridiculous, unreasonable demands about what we can and can't do? My suspicion is that they are, and that they're going to start demanding that we put all kinds of terms and conditions on ICE's ability to enforce our immigration laws, and that's unacceptable. So I really don't like that feature of this bill at all. When you add to that the fact that the bill overall spends too much and that the bill overall has $5.2 billion in wasteful earmarks, this is really appalling to me, and I oppose this bill.
You know, I haven't heard, maybe you have a better update, but the mayor of Minneapolis, certainly the governor of Minnesota, I haven't heard them say that they will allow ICE to come in and deal with the, you know, worst of the worst criminals inside the jails or inside the prisons. They've been saying that they are opposed to ICE. They don't want to stay with the law. They don't agree with the law. They think they're sanctuary cities. They don't understand that federal laws supersede local and state laws, and that therein lies most of the problem. In other words, if Mr. Schumer in Washington is echoing what they're saying in Minnesota, I don't know why Republicans in an election year particularly, but just in general, would want to do anything. Why make any changes at all? It's not worth it. Trump has closed the border. That's the best thing possible. Let's go from there.
Exactly. This is why I'm so worried about this deal. Look, in addition to all of that, which you articulated very well just now, Larry, I would add another feature to that. It's bad enough that they won't go in and assist in the enforcement of federal immigration laws. It's so much worse that on top of that, they're not even really helping in making sure that these violent clashes don't erupt between the ICE protesters and the federal law enforcement officers. This is tragic. This is abominable. So why in this circumstance we would want to punt this, separate it out from all the other funding bills, thus diminishing our own bargaining power, this is a difficult one for me to understand. On top of all this, Larry, we've got another problem that has erupted just today. There's a federal entity called USADF, some known as the African counterpart or the African sibling of USAID. It's a federal U.S. agency. Now, the CFO of that agency this morning was indicted and pled guilty to some corruption charges. And so I introduced an amendment this morning, which we're going to be voting on in just the next hour or so, to strip the funding out of USADF. This is very important.
Well, I didn't even realize that was still going on. I mean, corruption or no corruption. I thought we took all that stuff. I thought Rubio wanted to take all that stuff out.
USAID got taken out, but USADF is still there. It's still funded, and it's funded in this bill. My amendment, the Lee amendment, we'll be voting on in the next little while, would remove that. So anyone listening to this, if you've got senators who will listen to you, encourage them to vote yes on that amendment to strip the USADF funding. All
right. Well, thank you, Senator Mike Lee. We appreciate it very much. And let's hope the GOP doesn't get wobbly on immigration and deportation. Be the wrong